The moment I killed the power to the pool pump, I knew there was no going back. But watching Karen's face when she saw what was floating in that swamp was going to be worth everything I was about to lose. The letter arrived on a Tuesday, slipped under Nora Hastings' front door like a threat wrapped in corporate letterhead. She found it when she came home from her shift at the hospital, still in her scrubs, exhausted from 12 hours of keeping people alive. The envelope bore the Meadowbrook HOA seal, and her stomach dropped before she even opened it. Notice of pool reservation cancellation, the header read. Nora's hands trembled as she scanned the text. Her daughter's 8th birthday party, planned for 3 months, confirmed in writing, paid for in full, cancelled, effective immediately. The pool had been reallocated to accommodate a community priority event. She read it twice, then a third time, certain she was misunderstanding, but the words didn't change. Someone had overridden her reservation. Someone had decided that Emma's birthday didn't matter. Nora grabbed her phone and dialed the HOA office. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. She tried again, same result. She checked her watch, 4:30 on a Tuesday afternoon. They should be open. She drove to the community centre, her scrubs still damp with sweat from the hospital's broken air conditioning. The HOA office sat on the first floor, its windows dark. A printed sign hung on the door, closed for event planning. Through the window of the adjacent conference room, Nora saw them. Karen Westfield sat at the head of the table, her platinum blonde hair styled in perfect waves, gesturing dramatically while 3 other board members nodded. Nora recognized Karen's laugh even through the glass, sharp and performative, the sound of someone who'd never been told no. Nora knocked on the conference room door. The laughter stopped. Karen's eyes flicked toward her, registering Nora's presence with the same enthusiasm one might reserve for finding a spider in the shower. The door opened a crack. Margaret Chen, the board secretary, peered out. "We're in a closed meeting," Margaret said, her voice apologetic but firm. "I need to speak with someone about my pool reservation," Nora said. "I received a cancellation notice." "All reservation changes are final," Margaret replied, already closing the door. "Wait," Nora pushed her palm against the wood. "My daughter's birthday is in 4 days. We've had this booked since March." Karen's voice cut through the gap in the door. "Margaret, please remind Ms. Hastings that HOA decisions are not subject to individual negotiation." Nora's jaw tightened. "I'm not negotiating. I'm asking why my confirmed reservation was cancelled without notice." The door opened wider. Karen stood now, arms crossed, her white linen blazer immaculate. She looked at Nora the way someone might examine spoiled milk. "The pool has been reserved for a community appreciation event," Karen said. "A fundraiser for neighborhood improvements. Surely you understand that community needs supersede personal parties." "My reservation was confirmed 3 months ago," Nora said, fighting to keep her voice level. "I paid the deposit, I have the receipt." "And you'll receive a full refund," Karen said, her smile thin and patronizing. The notice explained everything clearly. "In 4 days, you're giving me 4 days to find a new venue for 20 children." Karen's expression didn't change. "I'm sure there are public pools that can accommodate you, perhaps somewhere more, suited to your budget." The words hung in the air like poison gas. Nora felt her face flush hot. "This isn't about budget," Nora said quietly. "This is about a promise I made to my daughter." "Then perhaps next time you'll choose a venue that doesn't require HOA approval," Karen said. She turned back toward the table. "Margaret, please close the door." The door shut in Nora's face with a soft click that sounded like a gavel. Nora stood in the hallway for a full minute, her hands balled into fists, her breath coming in short, angry bursts. Through the window, she watched Karen resume her presentation, pointing at what looked like balloon diagrams and catering menus. The other board members laughed at something Karen said. She drove home in silence, her mind racing through options. Every public pool within 20 miles was booked solid for summer weekends. The community centre pool was the only facility that allowed private reservations, and it had taken her months to secure the date. Emma had been counting down the days on her calendar, telling everyone at school about her pool party, about the mermaid decorations and the underwater tea party game Nora had planned. At home, Emma sat at the kitchen table, finishing her homework. She looked up when Nora entered, her face bright. 4 more days, Emma said, grinning. "Did you pick up the goodie bags?" Nora set her purse down slowly. Sweetheart, we need to talk about the party. Emma's smile faltered. What's wrong? The pool reservation got cancelled, Nora said, sitting down beside her daughter. There was a mistake at the HOA office. But we can fix it, right? Emma's eyes were wide, hopeful. You can call them. I tried. They're using the pool for something else. Something more important than my birthday. The question hit Nora like a physical blow. She pulled Emma into a hug, feeling her daughter's small body tense with disappointment. I'm going to make this right, Nora whispered. I promise. But as she held Emma, staring at the birthday countdown calendar on the refrigerator, Nora had no idea how she would keep that promise. That night, after Emma went to bed, Nora sat at her laptop searching for alternatives. Every venue was booked or prohibitively expensive. She called her sister in the next county. Their pool was being resurfaced. She contacted a party planner who quoted her $1,200 for a last-minute event. At 11 p.m., she found herself on the Meadowbrook HOA website, reading through the community guidelines and reservation policies. The rules were clear. Reservations required 14 days' notice and board approval. Cancellations could only occur with 30 days' written notice or in cases of facility emergency. There was no provision for bumping existing reservations for other events. Nora pulled up her email and found the original confirmation from the HOA. It was signed by Margaret Chen herself, dated March 15th. Your reservation for the community pool on June 22nd from 2:06 p.m. is confirmed. Payment received. No further action required. She took screenshots of everything, her mind beginning to calculate. Then she opened a new browser tab and searched for one specific piece of information: who maintained the pool equipment. The answer came quickly. The HOA contracted with Meadowbrook residents for various maintenance tasks to save money, and according to the services directory, the pool maintenance fell under the purview of the facilities committee. Nora pulled up the committee roster. Her eyes stopped on a familiar name. Thomas Hastings, Pool Systems Maintenance and Chemical Management. Her ex-husband. They'd divorced 2 years ago, parting on terms that weren't quite friendly but weren't hostile either. Tom had kept his position on the HOA committees because he genuinely enjoyed the technical work. He'd installed the current pool system himself, volunteering his time and expertise. Nora checked the time. Too late to call. She'd talk to him tomorrow. But as she closed her laptop, a different thought crept into her mind. Tom had access to the pool systems. He controlled the pumps, the filters, the chemical feeders. He had keys to the equipment room. Nora pushed the thought away. That wasn't the solution. She wasn't that person. She went to bed but didn't sleep. The next morning, Nora called Tom before her shift. He answered on the second ring, his voice groggy. Karen Westfield cancelled Emma's birthday party, Nora said without preamble. Tom was silent for a moment. What? Nora explained the situation, her words clipped and precise. Tom listened without interrupting. That's not right, he said finally. Your reservation predates any community event. I haven't heard anything about a fundraiser. Can you talk to the board? You're on the facilities committee. Tom sighed. Karen pretty much runs the board now. She got herself appointed as community liaison last month. Margaret and the others just rubber stamp whatever she wants. So there's nothing you can do. I can try to talk to Margaret, but Nora, Karen's got influence. Her husband donated 50 grand for the new playground. People listen to her. My daughter's birthday is in 3 days, Tom. I know, I'll make some calls. But Nora could hear the defeat in his voice. He didn't believe it would help. She worked her shift at the hospital. Her mind only half present. During her lunch break, Tom texted her, "Talk to Margaret. Karen's event is a VIP community appreciation gathering for major donors. Board voted to prioritize it, I'm sorry." Nora stared at the message, VIP community appreciation. Translation: Karen wanted to throw a party for her rich friends and decided the rules didn't apply to her. Another text came through, "Emma can come to my place Saturday, we'll do something special." Nora's hands shook as she typed her response. She wanted a pool party, Tom. She's been talking about it for months. No reply came. That evening, Nora sat Emma down and explained that the party would be different. They'd have a backyard celebration instead, with a sprinkler and water balloons. Emma nodded, trying to be brave, but Nora saw the tears she was fighting back. I hate Karen Westfield, Emma said quietly. We don't hate people, sweetheart. You're mad at her too, I can tell. Nora couldn't deny it. The anger had been building all day, a pressure behind her ribs that made it hard to breathe. She called the parents who'd RSVP'd, explaining the change. Most were understanding. 2 cancelled, citing scheduling conflicts with the new plan. Emma's best friend, Sophie, couldn't come anymore because the backyard party conflicted with her swimming lessons. By Thursday night, the guest list had shrunk from 20 children to 12. Emma tried to hide her disappointment, but Nora saw it in the way she picked at her dinner, the way she stopped talking about the party. Friday morning, Nora woke to a text from her neighbor. You see Karen's Instagram. Nora opened the app. Karen's latest post featured a professionally designed invitation. Exclusive VIP summer soiree, Meadowbrook Pool, Saturday 2:06 p.m. Cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, live music, RSVP required. The time slot was identical to Emma's cancelled reservation. The comments were full of excitement. Can't wait, you always throw the best parties. So exclusive. Nora's hands trembled so badly she nearly dropped her phone. That's when the idea truly took root. She texted Tom, what would happen if the pool pump stopped working? His reply came quickly. Water would go stagnant, algae bloom within 24-48 hours. Why? Just curious. Nora. She didn't respond. All day at work the thought consumed her. It was wrong, it was petty, it would solve nothing. But the image of Karen's smug face, the sound of that patronizing voice, perhaps somewhere more suited to your budget, played on loop in Nora's mind. At 6 p.m. she called Tom. I need access to the pool equipment room, she said. Absolutely not. Tom, I know what you're thinking and it's a bad idea. You could get fined, you could get sued. She stole my daughter's birthday. I know, and it's terrible, but destroying the pool won't fix it. I'm not going to destroy it, Nora said quietly. I'm just going to make it unavailable for Karen's VIP party. Tom was silent for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was careful. The pump has an automatic timer. If someone were to, hypothetically, disable that timer and shut off the pump tonight, the water would start degrading immediately. By tomorrow afternoon it would be visibly cloudy. By evening it would be green. How would someone disable the timer? There's a manual override switch in the equipment room, but Nora. Where's the equipment room key? Tom sighed deeply. This is insane. Please. Another long silence. Then, the key code is 7392, but I'm telling you this will backfire. I know. She hung up before he could argue further. That night, after Emma was asleep, Nora drove to the community centre. The parking lot was empty, the pool area dark. She walked around to the back where the equipment room sat tucked behind a privacy fence. Her hands shook as she punched in the code. The lock clicked. She pulled the door open. Inside, the pool machinery hummed steadily. Pumps, filters, chemical feeders, all working in perfect synchronization. Tom had labelled everything with neat handwritten signs. Nora found the main pump control panel. The timer glowed green, showing its scheduled run cycle. Below it, a red switch labelled manual override, emergency only. She stared at it for a full minute. This was crazy, childish, wrong. But Karen's voice echoed in her head, perhaps somewhere more suited to your budget. Nora flipped the switch. The humming stopped. The silence was immediate and absolute. She pressed the power button on the pump. Nothing happened. The system was locked out, unable to run while the manual override was engaged. Nora stood in the darkness, listening to her own heartbeat, and then she closed the door behind her and went home. Saturday morning arrived with cloudless skies and brutal heat. Nora spent the morning setting up her backyard for Emma's party, hanging streamers and filling water balloons, trying to manufacture enthusiasm she didn't feel. Emma came outside in her swimsuit, her smile forced. It'll be fun, Nora said, hugging her. I know, Emma replied, but her voice was small. At 1:30, Nora's phone buzzed, a text from Tom. What did you do? Her heart jumped. What do you mean? The pool, someone called me saying the water looks wrong. I'm heading over there now. Nora's mouth went dry. She typed back, "Keep me updated." Then she turned off her phone and focused on Emma's party. The children arrived. They played in the sprinkler, threw water balloons, ate cake. Emma laughed and seemed genuinely happy. Nora told herself it was enough. But at 4 p.m. she couldn't resist. She turned on her phone. 17 missed calls, 12 text messages. "Tom, the water is bright green. Nora, what did you do?" "Tom, Karen is losing her mind." "Tom, they're trying to shock the pool, but it's not working fast enough." "Tom, I found the override switch. I know it was you." Then a voicemail from a number she didn't recognize. She pressed play. Karen's voice shaking with fury. "I don't know what you did, Nora Hastings, but I will find out. This is sabotage. This is criminal. You will pay for this." Nora's hands went numb. She looked up at her backyard, at Emma splashing with her friends, at the joy on her daughter's face. And then she looked at her phone again, at Karen's threatening message, and understood with perfect clarity that she had just started a war she might not be able to win. The HOA emergency meeting was called for Sunday afternoon. Nora received the summons via certified mail on Sunday morning, delivered by a courier who made her sign 3 separate documents acknowledging receipt. The letter demanded her presence at 2 p.m. to address serious allegations of property damage and community sabotage. She sat at her kitchen table, Emma still asleep upstairs, and read the letter 4 times. The language was deliberately vague, but the threat was clear. Karen had mobilized the board and they were coming for her. Tom called at 9 a.m. "Don't go to that meeting without a lawyer," he said immediately. "I can't afford a lawyer." "Then don't go at all, they can't force you." "If I don't show up, they'll just decide without me there." Tom was quiet for a moment. "Nora, Karen is out for blood. She spent $10,000 on that party. The caterers, the band, the decorations, all of it wasted. Her guests showed up to a swamp." Despite everything, Nora felt a flicker of satisfaction. Good. This isn't funny. She's talking about pressing criminal charges, destruction of property. She's got half the board convinced you're some kind of vandal. "I didn't destroy anything. I turned off a pump. Using my access code, which I'm now being investigated for giving you." Guilt hit Nora like cold water. "Tom, I'm sorry, I didn't think." Obviously, his voice was sharp, then softened. "Look, I'm not saying Karen didn't deserve it. What she did to Emma was cruel, but you've opened yourself up to serious consequences." "What do you suggest I do?" "Tell the truth, explain what happened with Emma's party. Some of the board members have kids, they might understand." "And if they don't?" Tom sighed. "Then you're looking at fines, possible legal action, and definitely losing your pool privileges permanently. Maybe worse." After they hung up, Nora made coffee and tried to think strategically. But every scenario she imagined ended with Karen's triumphant face and a pile of legal bills Nora couldn't pay. At 1:30, she drove to the community center. The parking lot was fuller than she'd expected. Through the windows, she could see people gathered in the conference room. Inside, the room fell silent when she entered. 20 people sat in a rough semicircle. Karen stood at the front, her arms crossed, her expression victorious. Margaret Chen sat at the table with a laptop taking notes. The other board members, David Rodriguez, Patricia Kim, and James Walsh, occupied the seats closest to Karen. "Thank you for coming, Miss Hastings," Margaret said, her voice formal. "Please take a seat." There was one empty chair facing the semicircle. Nora sat, feeling like she was on trial. Karen wasted no time. "Let's be direct. On Friday night, someone sabotaged the community pool pump, rendering it inoperable and causing catastrophic water contamination. This sabotage directly targeted my community appreciation event and cost thousands of dollars in damages." "That's quite an accusation," Nora said, keeping her voice steady. "Do you have proof?" "The pool was perfectly functional Friday afternoon," Karen said. "I checked it myself at 3 p.m. By Saturday morning, the water was green. The pump had been manually disabled using the override system." "And you think I did this?" "You had motive," Karen said coldly. "Your daughter's party was relocated to accommodate a more important community event. You were upset, you made threats." "I never threatened anyone." "You confronted me at the HOA office. Multiple witnesses heard you say you'd make this right. Nora's jaw clenched. That's not a threat, that's a mother trying to salvage her daughter's birthday. David Rodriguez leaned forward. Ms. Hastings, did you access the pool equipment room on Friday night? Nora met his eyes. No. It wasn't technically a lie. She'd accessed it late Thursday night. Then you won't mind if we review the security footage, Karen said, smiling. Nora's stomach dropped. What security footage? The community center installed new cameras last month. They cover all entry points, including the equipment room area. The room spun slightly. Nora forced herself to breathe. I'd like to see this footage, she said. Karen nodded to Margaret, who pulled up a video file on her laptop. She turned the screen toward the room. The footage was grainy but clear enough. It showed the back area of the pool equipment room, time-stamped Thursday night at 10:47 p.m. A figure approached the door, punched in the code, and entered. But the angle was wrong. The camera was positioned to catch the door, not the person's face. All Nora could see was a silhouette in dark clothing. That could be anyone, Nora said. The timestamp corresponds with digital logs from the equipment room, Margaret said quietly. The manual override was engaged at 10:52 p.m. on Thursday. The pump was shut down at 10:53. Again, Nora said, that video doesn't show who entered the room. Karen's smile widened. Then perhaps you can explain why your ex-husband's access code was used to open the door. Every eye in the room turned to Nora. Tom maintains the pool, Nora said carefully. Multiple people have access to that code. Name one, Karen demanded. Nora couldn't. She sat in silence, her mind racing for an exit that didn't exist. Patricia Kim spoke up, her voice gentle. Nora, we all understand you were upset about Emma's party. What happened to your reservation was unfortunate. Unfortunate, Nora's voice rose despite herself. Karen cancelled a confirmed reservation 4 days before the event. She violated HOA policy to throw a party for her rich friends, and now she's acting like I'm the villain. Your personal grievances don't excuse criminal behavior, Karen snapped. And your abuse of power doesn't excuse stealing a child's birthday, Nora shot back. The room erupted. Multiple people talked over each other. Margaret tried to restore order. James Walsh, the oldest board member, raised his hand for silence. When the room quieted, he looked at Nora. Did you disable the pool pump? He asked simply. Nora hesitated. Every instinct screamed at her to deny it. But the footage, the timeline, Tom's access code, the evidence was damning. And if she lied now, they'd only dig deeper, maybe get Tom in more trouble. Yes, she said quietly. The room exploded again. Karen looked like Christmas had come early. I disabled the pump, Nora continued, raising her voice, because Karen Westfield violated every principle this HOA is supposed to stand for. She cancelled a confirmed reservation without cause, without proper notice, and without regard for the family she was hurting. She did it to host a party for donors. She used her position on this board to bully someone with less money and less influence. This isn't about money, Karen said coldly. It's entirely about money, Nora replied. You said it yourself, perhaps somewhere more suited to your budget. You made it clear that my daughter's birthday didn't matter because we're not important enough. Margaret's face had gone pale. Karen, did you actually say that? The context was... Did you say it? Margaret pressed. Karen's mouth tightened. I may have suggested alternative venues. While cancelling a confirmed reservation, David Rodriguez said slowly. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through something. A reservation that predates any community event by 3 months. The VIP appreciation event was a priority, Karen said. We need donor support for upcoming projects. That's not how reservations work, Patricia Kim said. We have policies, first come, first served. I'm the community liaison, Karen said, her voice taking on an edge. I make decisions about community priorities. That's not actually in your job description, James Walsh said quietly. He was reading from a printed copy of the HOA bylaws. Community liaison coordinates communication. You don't have authority to override approved reservations. Karen's face flushed. I had board approval. Did you? James looked at the other board members. Did anyone vote on this? Silence. Margaret shook her head slowly. Karen sent an email saying she was moving forward with an event. She didn't ask for a vote. Because it was time-sensitive, Karen said, but her voice had lost its confidence. Nora watched the dynamic shift in real time. Board members were looking at each other at their phones, reviewing records. Karen's authority was crumbling. But it didn't change what Nora had done. "This is all very interesting," Karen said loudly, trying to regain control, "but it doesn't excuse vandalism. Ms. Hastings admitted to sabotaging community property. That's a violation of HOA rules and possibly criminal law. I move that we levy maximum fines and refer this matter to the police." "I second that we address the vandalism," David said, "but I also move that we review Karen's cancellation of the Hastings reservation. If it was improper, that needs to be addressed too." "Agreed," Patricia said. Karen looked like she'd been slapped. The meeting devolved into procedural chaos. Motions were made and seconded. Margaret frantically took notes. Nora sat in her chair, watching it unfold, unsure if she should feel relief or terror. Finally, James Walsh called for order. "Here's what's going to happen," he said in a voice that brooked no argument. "We're going to table the vandalism discussion until we complete a full investigation of the reservation cancellation. Margaret, I need all communications between Karen and the HOA regarding this VIP event. I need the original Hastings reservation paperwork. And I need the bylaws section on reservation policies." "This is absurd," Karen said. "We're investigating me because she broke the law." "We're investigating whether there was a precipitating policy violation," James replied. "If Ms. Hastings' reservation was improperly cancelled, that's relevant to the question of motive and proportionality of response." Nora blinked. James was actually defending her. "In the meantime," James continued, "I move that we postpone any decision on fines or legal action until the full investigation is complete. Do I have a second?" "Seconded," David said immediately. "All in favour?" 3 hands went up, only Karen abstained. "Motion carries," James said. He looked at Nora. "Ms. Hastings, you're dismissed. We'll contact you when the investigation is complete." Nora stood on shaky legs. As she walked toward the door, Karen's voice cut through the room. "This isn't over." Nora turned back. "I know." She left the community center and sat in her car for 10 minutes, her hands trembling on the steering wheel. Her phone buzzed. "Tom." "How bad was it?" "I don't know," Nora said honestly. "They're investigating both of us now." "Jesus." Tom was quiet for a moment. "Emma had a good party though. She told me all about it this morning. She said it was the best birthday ever." Nora closed her eyes, feeling tears threaten. "She's a good kid." "Yeah, she is." They hung up. Nora drove home, exhausted and wired at the same time. The next week passed in agonizing slowness. Nora went to work, came home, tried to act normal for Emma, but every time her phone buzzed, her heart jumped. On Thursday, Margaret called. "The board wants to meet with you again," she said. "Tomorrow at 6 p.m, can you make it?" "Do I have a choice?" "Not really." Friday evening, Nora returned to the community center. This time only the 5 board members were present. The atmosphere was different, less hostile, more businesslike. James Walsh led the meeting. "We've completed our investigation," he said. "Karen, would you like to present your findings?" Karen's jaw was tight. She stood stiffly. "The VIP appreciation event was not properly authorized. I did not seek board approval before booking the date. Additionally, the Hastings reservation was confirmed and paid for, and there was no emergency or policy violation that would justify its cancellation." The admission clearly cost her. Her face was rigid with suppressed anger. "Thank you, Karen," James said. "Based on these findings, the board has voted unanimously to issue you a formal reprimand for abuse of authority. You're being removed from the community liaison position, effective immediately." Karen's face went white. "You can't." "We can, and we have," James said firmly. "Furthermore, the HOA will reimburse Ms. Hastings for all costs related to her daughter's relocated party, and we're implementing new reservation policies to prevent this from happening again." Nora sat in stunned silence. James turned to her. "Ms. Hastings, regarding the pool sabotage, technically you did violate HOA property rules. However, given the circumstances and the provocation, the board has voted to impose a fine of $500 with the option to work it off through community service hours. You'll also be required to write a formal apology. An apology, Nora's voice came out strangled. To the community, not to Karen specifically, for the disruption caused by the pool being out of commission. It was more than fair, it was almost too lenient. I accept, Nora said quietly. Good, James said, this matter is now closed, unless there are any other questions. Karen stood abruptly. I resign from the board. That's your choice, James said evenly. Karen grabbed her purse and walked out without another word. The door slammed behind her. Margaret looked at Nora. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I should have questioned Karen's authority when she first cancelled your reservation. We all should have, David added. Nora nodded, not trusting herself to speak. She left the meeting feeling lighter than she had in days. The fight wasn't completely over, she still had to pay the fine and write the apology. But Karen had lost her position, the board had backed down. Emma had gotten her party, even if it wasn't the one originally planned. That evening, Nora sat down with Emma and told her a simplified version of what had happened. So the mean lady got in trouble, Emma asked. Kind of. Good, Emma paused, then looked up at Nora seriously. Mom, did you really turn the pool green? Nora hesitated, then decided her daughter deserved the truth. Yes. That's kind of awesome, Emma said, grinning. Emma, I know, revenge is bad, but it's also kind of awesome. Nora hugged her daughter, laughing despite herself. 3 weeks later, Nora finished her community service hours helping repaint the community centre playground. She submitted her apology letter, brief, professional, and devoid of actual remorse for Karen specifically. Karen Westfield moved out of Meadowbrook 2 months later. Nora heard through neighbourhood gossip that her husband's business was relocating. Whether that was true or whether Karen simply couldn't stand the loss of status was unclear.